Good morning, YouTube. It is a brisk morning here in Ithaca, New York. It's our first pretty cold morning. It was 38 degrees when I woke up, and it's pretty chilly. First time I have to wear a jacket. But you guys aren't here for a weather report, so I'll cut to the chase. I discovered something pretty cool last night, and I wasn't going to post about it because it was just something I was tinkering around with. I wasn't sure it was going to be a video. Plus, I just posted a video yesterday. But I discovered a way that I can make the rear camera activate whenever I need it, whenever I want it. I really wanted this feature because I had it in my Tesla, and I really just kind of got used to it. I do quite a bit of towing, and sometimes I just want to look back there to check it and make sure everything's safe, make sure none of the straps are broken. It just helps put my mind at ease when I'm towing. So I wanted to figure out if there's a way to add that to the Rav4 Prime. Turns out there is, and I'm going to show it to you guys right now. Alright, I don't know if you can see there behind me. I'm using one of my brand new GoPros, so I'm still getting used to this wand and all this stuff. As I've said in other videos, I've been trying to improve my video quality. I still don't have a microphone. Thank God it's a still day and there's no wind whatsoever. But anyways, hopefully you can see it there behind me. We'll get inside here in a second and I'll show you everything exactly how I did it. But if you haven't already, smash that thumbs up button. This is something I probably could sell, but I'm giving it away to you guys for free. So if you could hit that thumbs up button, that would help me a ton with YouTube rankings and getting this video out to more people who this could help. But that's enough rambling. We'll hop inside and I'll show you guys what I did. Hey guys, welcome back. So I didn't film removal of the radio. It is very easy. I didn't think I was going to make this a video, so I didn't film any of that. But if you stick around to the end, I'll show you guys how to put all the stuff back together, and then you can easily figure out how it all came apart from there. Before I get into the relay, I'll talk about some of the wiring that I discovered back here. All of this should be pretty much the same on any 2019 up Toyota Rav4. If you don't have XM radio, then it might be slightly different. But for most of the mid to higher end Rav4s, this should be pretty much the same. So this harness right here, this is all of your audio. So these are going to be all your speakers. This one right here seems to be just the power, but also the rear backup camera wire, which is what I was looking for. This harness here, I didn't test to see exactly what each wire does, but some of the wires in here is the audio video input into the radio. And this one, I'm not sure. It didn't seem to have any wires that I needed, so I just didn't really mess with that one at all. I didn't test these two wires. I'm really not sure what those do. It would require a little more testing, and I don't really need to, don't really care. And I forget which one it was, but when I disconnected one of these two, the XM radio went out. I think it was this one. Both of them have like that coax cable. And then this one was the normal, what do they call it, terrestrial radio, just regular AM, FM radio. That's what that wire was there. Now that that's out of the way, let me get this back up to protect the dash. I went through and I tested to see which wire had power or ground when the car went into reverse. I finally found it after testing for a while, and it is in this harness right here. It is this blue wire. This blue wire here at the end. This is a wire that is powered when you put the car into reverse, which activates the rear camera on the radio. So in order to make this work, I did have to cut that wire. So that's one thing that people might freak out about, but I did it back far enough into this loom that I could remove this relay, I could hide everything, and nobody would ever know. I don't think there's any reason that this would ever void a warranty, and even if you're worried about it, like I said, you just bundle everything back up and they're not going to open up this wire loom to look. I'm fairly confident about that it'll all be fine. So I cut that wire and I put a relay in here. I'll explain how I set up the pins here in a minute. But then on the other wire here, this one is constant power. So that is also connected to the relay. So that'll power the relay and it will send power back to the blue wire back into the radio via pin 30 right here. The other side of the relay is connected to a switch. This is just a test switch. I'm going to be doing something different that I'll show you guys in a little bit. But yeah, just push that little button and the display changes to show the rear backup camera. It really works awesome. Then on the other side of this is just ground. Again, I haven't wrapped everything up yet because I was just testing it to see if it would even work. And it did, so I am quickly filming this for you guys here. It's really easy to do. You don't have to have a ton of 12-volt experience. I still need to button this up and clean this up and make it a little bit better, but I'll show you the relay. If you have experience with a relay, you know what these things look like. Pin 30 is a common pin, and it'll switch between this one and this one, which is 87 and 87A. So depending on if this relay is powered, it'll either be at rest with these two right here in the middle, or when it's powered, it'll switch over and connect to these two pins right here. And in order to power a relay, you just send 12-volt power to one side and ground to the other. It doesn't matter which side is power, which side is ground, that it will work either way. But once this receives 12-volt power, it'll switch and connect this pin and this pin right here. So hopefully that helps in case you've never done anything with relays before. So how I wired this one is, let's see, so this one is constant 12 volts, and this one is also constant 12 volts. So both of these come together and they get constant 12 volts right there. Pin 30 is going to the blue wire back to the radio. Pin 87 up here is going the blue wire into the car, which again is the rear backup trigger. Then on this side over here, this one has to be ground. So again, has to be positive and negative on both sides of this relay in order for it to work. So I already have positive here, so this side has to be negative. So this pin here comes out here and goes to my switch. So that's why I need to ground the other side of my switch. And that button, that switch, when it's pushed, it's going to complete the circuit and send 12 volts to the relay. Again, these two pins here in the middle are normally connected, so the car is normally operating as it always would. But when I hit that button, it switches and connects this one and this one, which if you remember, this one up here now is 12-volt power. So now it'll send that 12-volt power to the radio and trigger the rear backup camera. Hopefully I didn't thoroughly confuse you guys. It's really quite easy. I'm fairly confident that most of you guys should be able to do this. So I'm going to clean this up, put it all back together, and we're going to talk about some switches. So now we need to find a switch location. I love this location right here, but unfortunately I haven't been able to find a switch that goes here anywhere. I've looked all over eBay, I've looked on AliExpress, I haven't been able to find a switch that'll fit and look factory in this location right here. On a gas car, this is an A cancel switch, which I think turns off the gas engine or something. I don't have one, obviously, so I can't test it. So if I'm way off, let me know. But either way, I cannot find an OEM switch. I can't find aftermarket, can't find anything. So if you guys can find a switch that goes right here, I think this is a great location for a button. So let me know if you can find one. So that one's out. I could just drill a hole and mount this, but I like the factory look and I don't think that looks very good. So I'm not going to do that. The only other option in this car and have it look factory is over here on this side. I have a dummy switch right here. It's just a blank plug. It's not a button. It's just a piece of plastic. So I'm going to put a switch right there. On some cars like the XSE Premium, I don't think you have a dummy location. So on Rav4s that don't have that dummy spot, you're going to have to do something that doesn't look factory. You're going to have to use a push button and hide it somewhere, or just drill a hole and put a push button down here. You'll have to figure out what you want and what is acceptable to you. But speaking of the factory switches, I picked up 3 online just to keep around and have for a project like this. And any one of these is going to fit in that location right there. So the first one here has a power icon on it. They are all latching switches, which means you push them once, stays on. You push them again, it turns off. The next option is the one I'm probably going to go with. This is just a blank switch. It does have the little blue light up here, but there's no icon on it at all. So I'm probably going to go with this one. And then this is the last one. This is a battery button. I got this one anticipating connection with a T-Rex, one of my range extending campers, but I'm not sure I will because again, there's only one blank dummy spot there. Now you can get one that is a camera icon, which is just perfect. I wish I had one of those, but I don't, and I'm doing this project now. so that doesn't help me. But next, I'm gonna take off this panel and I'm gonna access the back side of this and push it forward. Okay, I'm not sure how well this is gonna come out. I've got the camera mounted my forehead right now. So you take this cover off, this just lifts right up and I put it right over there. And then there's this screw right here. You just twist that, comes out right over there. And this is gonna pop out. It's just clips, pops right out very easy. I'll set that over here. We'll get my OBD2 out of the way. And then we've got another screw right here. I already got the other 2 screws out. There's one right there, and there's another one over there. Now this bottom tray is gonna come out. A couple clips you push in. Now that is out. Looks like I do have a 10mm here I have to get out, but I think that's it. There we go. And there's the back side. This is all wired up for whatever would normally go there. But we're gonna take out that dummy switch and get a new one in there. Looks like there's just a couple tabs on the side. Take a screwdriver and push it down and it pops right out. There it is. And there's the new switch right there. So I'm going to have to run a wire from the switch up to the radio. I'm also going to need positive power to illuminate this switch. So what I'm going to do is test these wires and see if any of them have power and ground for me. All right, I hit a little bit of a roadblock because none of the switches that I have had any wiring diagrams or schematics or anything. So I had to do some digging online to try to find something. Thankfully, after 15-20 minutes, I did find this, and it shows the correct wiring. I'll go back to the car and I'll wire in the switch. All right, I am completely modifying my switch plans. I'm going to go back to the momentary push button switch, and I'm going to have to drill a hole. I really wanted to avoid drilling holes, but I think that's the best path. It'll also be the easiest path for you guys following along with this. It's just with my future plans, I really did want to save this blank spot for a T-Rex camper. And if you follow my channel, or if you haven't, you can go back and you can watch my T-Rex videos. I built the range extending trailer for my EV back in the day. First it was a trailer, then I built a camper, and I'd like to be able to eventually use that with this car, so I don't want to take up that one blank spot with this switch. So that's a big part of it, but the other part is that the switch actually doesn't match the other switches. This is kind of hard to show and explain, but in the top of that little switch there's a little notch, and that shows a color when the button is pressed in. With this blank one here that I was planning on using, that color was blue. And all the other switches and everything else in the car is blue, so I thought that was going to be fine. But when the switches are pushed in on this Rav4 Prime, probably the same with other 19 and up Rav4s, that little notch, that area, gets illuminated orange. So it didn't match at all. So then I started looking at the other 2 switches that I had. I also didn't really like that there was no logo there, honestly. I think it'd be harder to find at night, so I scratched that. I'm not going to do that one anymore. So on the other 2 switches that I have, this light here in the center, so in this one it's a power logo, that one will glow blue, which is perfect, and it matches the other switches. And then this notch up here, it is a slightly different color than the other ones. I'll spin the camera around and I'll show you in a second, but it's a much closer match. It's not blue compared to amber. So I'm switching it all up, and I'm not going to use these switches at all. Thankfully, I was able to figure out the wiring, so I didn't blow any of these switches, which is nice. But I'll spin the camera around, show you what I did. I'll talk about the wiring, so in case you do want to try this yourself, you know what wires do what. But I am going to go back to using that push-button switch, and then I'll have to find a location for that. Okay, here we are. So the car is turned on right now, and I have my lights on. I doubt you're going to be able to see this, but all of these lights here are glowing the same color. Another thing I actually did too is I moved the automatic lights over, so that one was here. With the T-Rex camper, whenever I end up working on that project, I wanted this button and this light easily visible, so I moved over this. You do have to trim a couple of the notches because each of these switches are designed to go only in their location. So I did have to notch this out in order to get it in here, but it's fine. And then the wiring was able to move over and get to here just fine. There's plenty of room there. And I'll show you what I was talking about with the amber. You can see when all these are pressed, they light up different color. So that one's actually kind of like a neon green, that one's orange, and this one's kind of a neon green. It's not quite as bright as this one, but this light on the other switch I had was blue, so it didn't match at all. But before I put this panel back on, I wanted to show you the OEM wires. In case you ever wanted to do some tinkering with the switches, kind of like I am. This is the spare harness that was in here. I'm not sure what this would control normally. Each RAV4 might be a little bit different, whatever switch was in this place. But I'm going to talk about what these switches do after I tested them. So this first one right here, this gray one, it's a solid gray wire. This is the ground wire for the dimmer switch for these lights. So you want to use this for any of the light bulbs, for example, like this battery icon. That's going to dim now with this dial because I use that. This next wire is a ground. This one is ignition power. These two, one of them had ignition power. The other one, I didn't really finish testing. They are a slightly smaller wire. So I'm sure these wires were for whatever device was supposed to get turned on and off with the switch that's not there. And then this last one is positive power for the dimmer lights. So in order to have the dimmer lights work, you need to use these two. And then these two are power and ground. Hopefully that helps you guys if you ever get in here and feel like tinkering and doing something with a switch. And now I'm going to find a spot for the switch. Let's see if I get the camera over here. So here's the switch is just hanging here right now. I'm kind of thinking over here, but I'm going to get everything buttoned back up. I'm going to sit in the driver's seat and then see what location I want to reach to use this. Decided on a location for this switch. I'm going to put it right there, just southeast of the power button right here. So I'm going to drill a little hole, which means I got to take this whole panel off. It's not super easy to get off. The lower cover has to be off. And then this clips in here and you have to pull it straight this way. All of the clips go straight into the dash. So what I did is just took my pick and stuck it right here in the crack and pulled pretty hard. So once that's off, you just pull that off and yeah, so I'm gonna drill a hole and put it right there. Got the hole drilled right down there, got the switch in, and then I just ran a piece of copper ground wire right through here and got it taped to the wire. Carefully put this over here. So far, 0 scratches on the car. Hope to keep it that way. I'm just going to pull the wire up to the radio. I'm going to put this back up in place. And there it is. There's my little switch right there. So now I'm going to come up here and I'll wire this up. One side's got to go to ground and the other one's going to go to this wire here. Okay, I got a ring terminal on this and I'm just going to slip it underneath this plastic. I think that looks pretty good. So let's lift this radio, put it back in place. There we go. I've got all these screws. They're going to go right down into here. It's hard to get this on video, but this is the back side of the radio. There are just 2 screws on either side. They're 10mm bolts. I got them back in there and just gonna tighten it down. All right, got the radio back in there and now it's time to test it. So here's my button right here. Nice, there's my reverse camera. You can see the car is still in park. When I let go, it goes away. Awesome. Over here is my button that I'll eventually use with the T-Rex. I think this is going to be a much better solution there. And then we just have this panel, and this is what clips into the dash on the back side of the radio. It's really hard to get that on film, so I'll leave that out. But I think that's about it. Again though guys, if you do see a switch for this, let me know if you find one, because that's a good spot for some kind of button. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and then share and subscribe. All that normal YouTube stuff. Thanks a lot, guys. See you on the next one.